Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are chatting with Michael Williams from Vortex Metals. Vortex Metals is an exploration company that was really created by the late David Jones, who has a history of finding big mines. The company is exploring 3 VMS projects in Oaxaca, Mexico. And in this interview, Michael lays out the strategy for how Vortex Metals plans to pick up where David Jones left off. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Michael, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Okay, so we've got a CPI print that's coming out this week. Got to ask you just a general macro question here. How much is inflation affecting the mining industry, and how closely are you following the inflation data right now?
Well, paradoxically, that question is simple as it is complex. From an inflationary point of view, actually on producing mines is significant right now. Our costs are increasing in the industry, which is obviously impacting earnings. Having said that, we're not seeing a corresponding rise in the price of the metals that you would expect to see in inflationary time that would offset that, but also help companies like ourselves, especially if you have some form of precious metals within your project. Ours are copper gold, so we are impacted by it. So it's kind of an odd time in the industry, so to speak, given the sense that when you see inflation, and this is the first time really in 40 years we've seen it, we're not seeing the precious metal stocks move, which you would normally think would happen. I think that's just a delay. We will see that. I can't predict when, but hopefully it's sooner than later. You're starting to see indications of that. At the end of the day, when our costs go up, it's the metal prices are going to have to go up to correspond, because we need to make certain internal rates of return, and if we're not, mines get shuttered. So we'll see what happens. But look, I'm optimistic. This is I think we're heading into a significant bull market based on a couple things. One is inflation that you mentioned. The other is just supply. There is not a lot of metal coming on stream that one would anticipate, and the demand is continuing to increase. So supply and demand dictates that we will see higher prices.
Got it. So sort of a calm before the proverbial storm. Let's talk copper. We've seen tremendous volatility in the price of copper over, say, the last 12 months. Right. Given the backdrop, what's your read on the price action in copper?
Well, copper tends to, I would say in the last 10 years, it has a symbiotic relationship with what happens in China. Now, if China is perceived to be slowing down, the psychological impacts on copper, it tends to go down, in my opinion. Having said that, China can still slow down, but the demand for copper coming out of there is still significant. I happen to think these are good copper prices for any mining company. They're almost at historic highs. We're coming off our historic highs somewhat, but that's to be expected. You just don't keep going straight up. If I was modeling a mine and picking a bankable feasibility number, I'd probably use 350 copper. Internally, we've used 270 just to give us a sense of what to expect. And I don't think I think the days of 270 copper are over. We're electrifying. We're in a stage of electrifying the world. You need copper. It's the number one commodity for that, really. So I think copper has, no pun intended, a bright future. And if I could find more good copper projects, I certainly would.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about Vortex Metals. What's the high-level 2-minute elevator pitch for the company?
Well, Vortex was put together by it's a bit of a bittersweet story for us internally, because the geologist that put it together, David Jones, from a technical point of view, passed away recently. So we were, we're hoping we're going to carry on his work, make a discovery in his name. But David was one of those rare geos that you would consider, you'd call him a mine finder. He was responsible for Los Filos in the Guerrero Gold Belt just to the north of us when he was a project geologist for Teck. And a lot of significant ounces have both come out of Los Filos and that belt. And it was largely predicated on the geological model that Dave put together on skarns. But if you've ever worked for a major company, it's hard to sometimes receive both the monetary rewards and the technical rewards that one would get from a discovery. So David shifted gears and decided to go into the junior mining field, hence Vortex, and he went just south of the Guerrero Gold Belt to where we are in Oaxaca, to an area that hadn't really seen any modern exploration. And he started doing his basic geological work. And he's put a portfolio of projects together that I think rival any. I don't normally like grassroots projects, and I wouldn't characterize ours as grassroots, because the work he's done, he's brought them up to drill ready largely, but they're the type that you've got a significant chance of making a discovery predicated on the previous work. Now, having said that, you need the drill to see if you're actually going to find something. The drill is, as we like to say, is the truth machine in the industry. And we're anxious to drill it. We're just going through the permitting stage now. We hope to be drilling it probably in Q1 of next year. Looks like the target. It could be Q4, could be Q2 of next year, but Q1 looks reasonable. But it's an exciting project we have, and actually projects, and we're looking forward to getting the drill into them.
So how does Vortex manage to stand out? There's probably hundreds of exploration companies that exist. What do you think it is that makes Vortex different from all those other names that are, listed on the CSE and the TSX Venture and the NEO?
Well, I think you were being kind. There's probably thousands, really. I would suggest that what will make us stand out is when we deliver results, but we do have the potential to deliver results. I don't want to cast aspersions on the industry, but I always think that 10% of the junior space, if you will, has legitimate shots at making exploration success. We're certainly in that category, but I think given what we've seen to date, we have a rare opportunity here of making a discovery. I don't know if you could say that about the majority of companies. A lot of them are area plays. They're not run by technical people. Ours certainly is. I think our risk-reward ratio at Vortex is very good.
Okay, so you spoke about the permitting process. In a perfect world, when do you think that you'll have that done?
Well, I think we've gone a long way in getting our community access agreements. So I think hopefully we'll have an announcement shortly on that. And then the next step is just with the individual landowners. And then you finally go to the Mexican federal government, to Seminat, to get your drill permits. As I mentioned, I think we'll either be ready to go end of Q4 or Q1, more than likely. It's always a little bit longer than you anticipate. So, maybe could go Q2, but that's going to come up quickly. And in the meantime, we'll be doing some internal work to refine our targets.
Okay, so what can you tell us about Mexico as a mining jurisdiction?
Mexico, there's been a lot of success in mining. The Canadian mining industry has a lot of focus in Mexico. The current government hasn't been as easy to deal with as perhaps what we've seen. Having said that, I think if you do things properly, you will get your permits. We're in an area that looks like we've got really good community support. And in this modern day and age, and it's not germane to Mexico, we're seeing the same things in Latin America and really all over the world. If you don't have that community support, it's going to be very difficult to advance your projects. And having the community support goes a long way with sort of the federal government. So I think Mexico is a good place to do business, but you've got to pick your spots, like anywhere. There's areas in Mexico we would not go. We're comfortable here. What we really like here is the infrastructure is fabulous. We're close to power, rail, and transportation. It's off roads. You can almost drive right to the ore body, or I said ore bodies, getting ahead of myself. You can drive right to the deposits. So it ticks a lot of boxes, and we internally believe if you find something, you'll be able to advance it. But you have to do things properly and take your time.
Okay. Got to ask you about the background of the geological team. We obviously spoke with David Jones, who has a tremendous success. My understanding is that you've been a part of a large takeout before. What can you tell us about the current team?
Well, yeah, I'm sort of 25 years experience in the industry, and I've been involved in several takeouts. One, I was a founder of a company called Underworld. What I really liked about Underworld, it started the big rush in the Yukon, 2010, 2011. We were taken out by Kinross, but we put $28 million into the ground and sold it for $140 million, ostensibly within 24 months. That's like catching lightning in a bottle. But I would suggest that the projects we have in Oaxaca were more advanced due to the work that David Jones has done previously than what we were dealing with in the Yukon. Certainly the infrastructure is better, but I see a similarity. Now, what we were able to do, fortunately, one of David's friends, also a renowned geologist, Rob Johannesing, is leading our technical team. And we really don't miss a beat from a drilling point of view. Rob has the same understanding of what it takes to make a discovery, and it's part art and part science. And fortunately, he gets both, as did David. David can't be replaced looking for future projects because he was special in that sense. So that's a great loss technically there, but on the ground, I think we're not going to miss a beat.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Very interested to see what the results look like. In a perfect world here, you think we'd get drill results early 2023?
I would expect so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and hopefully you'll come back on once we get those drill updates so we can find out a little bit more about the results.
Yeah, you won't be able to stop me. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Or even better, let us know what you think in the comment section. All right. Thank you, everybody.